we, for once, have the four of us today, so that's fantastic. I would say it's a kind of a anniversary of the show, but it's not. Anyway, today the theme that we're gonna talk about is mobile games. But since we like to do things our way, we are doing mobile games from the comfort of our home because I'm too lazy to take my phone and play outside.
Yeah, I loved Fallout Shelter. That's one of the few mobile games I played for a long time. All right, so I tried to do, tried being the key word here. Final Fantasy VII First Soldier. So when Korean said no Final Fantasy, ha ha ha.
Here you go.
So
Foiled again.
I know. I really wanted to like this game, and I like it in theory, and I hate it in practice. It's just everything about it drove me nuts. So it's kind of interesting. It's not made by Squaresoft. It's what's the word? It's published by Squaresoft, but it's made by A Team Incorporated. It was released November 17th, so this is pretty much still a brand new game. And it's a battle royale game, and it's set 30 years prior to the events of Final Fantasy VII. So, as the title implies, you are Shinra soldiers who are applying for the initial soldier program. So basically, you're all competing so that you can become, part of that initial generation of soldiers. And overall, there's things I liked. Like I said, I like it in theory. I like it on paper, but just the execution was just messy. So part of the problem, I think, is really the fact that this is a mobile game. Like you can see right here that the screen is actually quite cluttered. The way you have it is you have a melee attack, you have your gun, so you can fire the gun off. You have a jump, you have a crouch, you have your zoom in, and then you have 3 magic spells that you can use. And with all that stuff, you just have all these little buttons, and they're taking up a pretty big chunk of the screen. Oh, and you also have like a special ability based on your class. But at the same time, when your thumbs are on the screen, you can't, everything's under your thumb, so you can't really see it except for the magic, which is right there in the middle. And there were just times where it was kind of annoying because the placement of the yeah, Jamil here says it looks bad. So the placement of you use your left, where basically a left thumbstick would go. That's how you control your character. With the right thumbstick, or where the right would go, is where you can kind of look around and whatnot. But it's right over the fire button, and there's also a fire button on the left side, right next to your thumbstick. So there's plenty of times where I'm just sitting there and I'm run, blam, 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 start shooting into a wall, and of course I'm like, crud, because you can see here sometimes, like on the screen right now, there's a little kind of indicator, and it shows like footsteps. So if somebody's running nearby, it'll indicate which direction you're hearing the footsteps, or if they're shooting, it'll indicate the direction of the shooting. So if you know, or you have an idea that somebody's probably close by and you accidentally start firing, you're basically just giving away your position. So that's just annoying. And so I was like, no. So yeah, the placement of all the buttons and stuff is just really annoying. It would have actually, I feel like it would have worked better if it was on like a console or something like that, where you could have dedicated buttons to it. They do have button mapping for a controller, but I tried to link the DS5 to it, and it was just really weird because it says on the controls, it's like, okay, right trigger is fire, left trigger is aim, but left trigger is also magic. So what you would have to do is basically you'd have to hold down a button for magic and then hit the left trigger, and then you would fire off your magic, so you can kind of charge it and then throw it. Which seemed like it was fine, but then what I was finding out was no, left trigger was not aim or magic. My left trigger was melee attack for some unknown reason. So the button mapping was just not working out right. I've seen other streams where people were saying the same thing, where they're like, the button mapping is just weird. They couldn't get a controller to work. Bluestacks does not currently support this game. They're aware of it, so I put in a ticket and they said, we're aware of this, and a lot of people have asked about it. So on BlueStacks' side, they were very fast and they were very nice about it. So I can't complain about BlueStacks' reaction to it, but the game itself was not that great. But gameplay wise, I feel like if it could work on a controller or something like that, it might actually be kind of fun. The game itself that doesn't seem to have too many pay to win things. Everything that you could seem to, the only thing I could see that you could spend money on were skins. So you could pay money for skins or the battle pass, and in a lot of ways, that kind of reminded me a lot of Apex. So there didn't seem to be a lot of pay to win kind of mechanics, unlike when I was playing Free Fire and people could, buy or rent or whatever weapons so they could start off a battle with weapons. They don't have that. The weapon variety is pretty limited. There's not a lot of weapons. There seems to be maybe like one or two. I think there's just one of each type of weapon maybe, and you can upgrade it so that there's the gray. The gray one is just kind of basic level, and then blue is higher, and then purple is higher. So you can get tiers of these weapons, but I don't think there's too much variety into the weapons. I think most of the variety comes in the magic system. So you can find materia lying around and you can pick it up. And if you find another materia of the same type, you can upgrade your materia to the next level. So there are some pretty interesting things you can do with that. Like you can heal yourself, you can use poison, you can use fire. And apparently there's some fun stuff you can do. I saw somebody was using wind, and they would create this kind of tornado, and then they would jump on it and they could kind of fly up. So they were using it to kind of get a height advantage. So I mean, as far as the game itself, it doesn't seem like it has too much trouble. I mean, compared to something like Apex, no, it's not polished. This is a mobile game. But as far as a mobile game, it's just super cluttered. So it's right in that sweet spot of like, I want to love it and I don't.
But if you could play it on BlueStacks with proper controllers, that could help a lot, right?
If I could play on BlueStacks with proper controllers or mouse and keyboard, it might actually be fun. And I think in for me personally, I think I would enjoy it more than Free Fire, because my problem with Free Fire, it looks a lot like Free Fire, it plays a lot like Free Fire, but at the same time, it seems to be kind of a mix between that and Apex in the sense that you it's more like Apex in that there's no real pay to win. It's more like you get the battle pass, but as you progress, you'll get money that you can spend on skins and things like that, or you can get, and you can automatically unlock skins. There might be an element of pay to win later that I haven't reached yet, so that's a possibility. But yeah, on BlueStacks, I feel like I would enjoy it, but I don't know if this would be the kind of game that I'd want to play a lot. But I feel like I could at least enjoy it.
I do have a question, if you don't mind. I've seen in the trailers that you have 4 classes, if I recall. You have the monks, the magicians, the
There's
warriors,
more than
but
4, yeah.
at least that's the 4 I've seen. But from the gameplay I was watching, mainly you just use your gun. So is that actually a point of having different classes? If you use your gun, what's the point of being a monk?
Okay, so the your class does 2 things. One is affects your melee weapon. So if you're a monk, you attack pretty fast, but you don't hit as hard. If you're a warrior, you got the standard soldier sword, and you hit harder, but you're a little bit slower. So your melee attack is the one thing. The other thing is your ability, and the abilities are really important. So the warrior has kind of this dash ability where he puts a shield around him and he dashes forward. If you look at where they have the magic, just above it to the right, there's your ability. So the warrior has the dash. The ninja has a stealth ability, so they can go invisible for a short period of time. The ranger can it'll mark enemies in your vicinity, so even if they go behind a wall, you can still see where they are. The wizard, I don't remember what the wizard does. The monk will put up a shield. They show that in the video. There's kind of this mana wall in front of you, so you can put up a shield in front of you. So it's basically a normal another form of magic that is specific to your class is the biggest difference. So they
So
do actually
imagine
make a
that.
bit of a difference.
So imagine it's much funnier if you play multiplayer
Yeah,
with other
yeah,
people
yeah, and they also have
playing different
passives.
classes.
Like I think monk will get beefier the less life they have, and I think another one can. I think maybe ninja can life steal or something like that. Yeah.
So I want to talk. What is it? Jamil is asking about that, about the controller. I was
Yeah.
going to say that when I was setting up the live stream and I was testing out on the Thursday before, I was looking for a game to play, and I downloaded Fireblade because I couldn't get the game that I wanted, and I knew it was just like a mech run around and shoot things. And I had the exact same problem, and it was with BlueStacks. And it said like, oh, everything I read online was if you've got a controller, it's fine. Because like you can easily set up the buttons and things, but it was because in the game on the phone, you're supposed to use two-finger swipe in the direction that you're going to shoot. And the problem with the game was that it was like fixed location when you were shooting between regions, but you would be maybe like slightly different in which way you were facing. And you could set up a double swipe feature on your control panel. I didn't spend ages trying to work it, but eventually I managed to get it set to the screen. But say like my double swipe feature was here, if I set like the letter M to go here, which was perfectly fine to launch my missile as long as the enemy was here. And if the enemy wasn't here because it's a fixed screen, I had no way of moving it other than when you choose your normal attack trigger with the mouse button and kept shooting, you would slowly move to the direction that you needed to be. So I had a firing arc that was kind of like, if the enemies were there, just shoot them, and then slowly I could just get about this area here with my missile. If the enemy tank wasn't here, then I was screwed. So yeah, I had
Like a
that
Hollywood
problem
movie with like
Thursday.
the tracking the guy as he's running.
And your ammo is limited as well. So like I'd be shooting here my anti-infantry ammo to get my missile over here so that I could then fire my rocket, and then the infantry come and I'm like, oh well, I'm on cooldown now, I've got no bloody ammo.
Yeah. But yeah, like what Jamil's saying here, you know, controller is going to make it better, but there's a lot of mobile like that, so it makes it less enjoyable. Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily say it would make it less enjoyable, but it's one of those things where it doesn't really add much to. It doesn't really add a lot new. It's got some different features, right? I mean, you got some class abilities and magic and whatnot, but it's one of those things where if you're already invested in another mobile game like Free Fire and you're invested in it, you've been playing it for a long time, this one's not going to pull you away from that because it's like, okay, it's the same enough that I don't really feel like I need to move on to something else, and I'm already invested in this other thing. So I don't see this game getting super big in the long run. I'm sure there will be people that play it. I think mostly it's if it didn't even have the Final Fantasy name, I don't think anybody would even recognize it. I don't think anybody would look at it. So yeah, I mean it's fun enough on its own, but yeah, I don't see it becoming anything big.
Apart from her chocobo costume, is it? I don't know. It looks like
There's a chocobo costume. Yeah, that's the thing is they have all these little costumes. Yeah, the girl's wearing a chocobo costume. So as you go, you'll unlock more outfits. You start off with the basic Shinra soldier outfit, and as you go, you can unlock kind of higher ranking outfits, and you can unlock the chocobo stuff, and you can unlock like ninja outfits. If you get your class up to level 50, you get like a special outfit for that class, so you can have a monk outfit or whatever. And then of course you can also right now you can buy skins. So right now you can buy Biggs, Wedge, Jesse, Tifa, Cloud, and I think there's one more, but I'm not sure who it was. So you can buy a skin so you'll just look exactly like those characters. And you can get a Turk outfit, so if you want to be a Turk.